So finally, Blizzard just dropped the big news. Dragonflight will be released this year by December 31st or on December 31st, which I gotta say caught all of us by surprise. Most of us expected it to happen around March or April next year, and even that was kinda early. Some even saw a late 2023 summer release date, but looks like it will be happening in just 6 months. Seeing that the alpha isn't even out yet and there will no doubt be a really short testing period, does this mean that Blizzard is rushing this expansion to push it in profit season, or have they really been working on this for a long time so that Dragonflight is the new Legion while Shadowlands was the Warlords of Draenor? Did you know that if you use pirate software like Windows, you are very vulnerable to viruses and other types of malicious activity? Well, the sponsor of this video, Royal City Keys, has the solution, as you can get cheap licenses, as in $2-3 cheap, and there are also a bunch of other games and software you can choose from. Best of all, if you use my code DORON, you will get an additional 10% off, so if you want to support the channel and get something for yourself, check out my link in the description or the QR code. To start off immediately, let us look at some of the stats and graphs, because it looks like Dragonflight might just be completely different than any other expansion thus far. Realistically, Blizzard has been doing some revolutionary changes lately, such as cross-faction grouping, this new customization, so it wouldn't be surprising if they're also making some fundamental changes to the alpha-beta system we all know and love. Pretty much always it took more than 6 months from the alpha to release date, but when you look at how long it took between the announcement to the actual release date, it is even longer. If they really follow up the news and the announcement, they said December 31st, the release date will happen about 240 to 250 days since the announcement trailer. This, compared to other expansions, is crazy. Only Battle for Azeroth was close to like 300, but almost always it was more than a year. In the case of Cataclysm, this period was like 500 days. Wrath of the Lich King was over 450, and even short expansions like Worlds of Draenor and Shadowlands took around a year. However, for Dragonflight, this will take about 8 months, which rightfully so got a lot of us worried whether they're really going to push out a quality expansion or whether this is going to be incredibly rushed so that Shadowlands is going to be a masterpiece in comparison. So let us examine what we have right now. The main concern isn't really the release date itself, because let's be real, most of us can't wait to just get our hands on this expansion as soon as possible, so honestly I wouldn't even mind if it was out tomorrow. However, a problem is the alpha beta cycle and the fact that if it comes out in December, it is literally going to be just a 6-month testing period for some really big features. This means that not only will there not be a whole lot of time to test out all the bugs and all the problems, but the main concern is that the players won't be able to experiment the new features that they just introduced. After all, they're doing some really crazy things like completely revamping the talent system, and 6 months is just not a lot of time for them to make any drastic changes to any core features in case the player base isn't really too thrilled with them. This is a completely legitimate concern. However, on the brighter side of news is that Blizzard recently started expanding their team and their in-house testing team, meaning that they could have been testing this expansion for a really long time by now, and that they don't really rely all that much on the community. The actual issue though is that the testing team can't really test out how the community is going to respond to some of these big game design changes. However, what gets me worried is how true is this really? Have they really been working on Dragonflight all this time, or are they really just rushing it because Shadowlands really flunked and now they need to make up for the lost revenue and a major hit to the player base? Almost all of us are seeing the old pattern that happened around 2014-2015 when Warlords of Draenor was out, and when that expansion that was hyped up was literally just scrapped mid-expansion in order for them to work on Legion. They literally built this entire crazy timeline, this planet, entire storyline, all these warlords and this crazy setup, only to rush it in like one actual content patch to make up some foreshadowing for Legion, and yeah, that was about it. On the brighter side, they really did deliver on Legion, as that expansion was content packed to the brim and it was very well received. Now, you may be seeing the exact same scenario happening with Shadowlands. They literally built the entire afterlife, went crazy with all these new characters, these new villains, villains, really put in the effort, as you can see with cities like Castle Natria, yet since release they pretty much just abandoned it. It's like they put like a 5-man skeleton crew to just come out with the patches, and they completely just rushed the story, and I think we can all agree that the expansion itself definitely failed after the release date. Even Blizzard in interviews sorta subtly hinted that they pretty much just completely shifted the expansion focus mid-development after release, and it is pretty obvious that they just looked to just wrap it up in the fastest manner possible and to just move on. And this wasn't just Blizzard itself, this was like the overall sentiment from the community. Let's just be done with the Shadowlands and let's just go back to Azeroth. So could this be the exact same scenario as before? Could they have started working on Dragonflight ages ago? They rushed Shadowlands in order to put the team to work on this new expansion. My opinions are personally kind of mixed. On one hand, I'm optimistic, and I do think this is the case. On the other, I'm slightly worried. Well, they didn't really promise a whole lot of features. In fact, they promised less than usual with Dragonflight. They did say that the Dragon Isles are going to be a massive continent, that the zones will be bigger than ever before, and they promised some really cool storylines and characters and overall just things happening. However, the reason I'm worried is because when they announced the expansion, they literally planned to release it 8 months later, but when you realize they barely showed much gameplay in that livestream, most of it seemed kinda handpicked. 8 months is not a really long time, so if they were planning to release the alpha in like 2 months after the announcement, you would expect that the game would pretty much nearly be finished by that point. This part worries me a bit, and I feel like they may in fact actually be rushing this expansion. I know most of you expected that the release date will be around March, April, but you gotta keep one thing in mind. When it comes to businesses in general, there are such things as actual seasons. It is much more profitable to release an expansion around Christmas when spending is incredibly high than it is to do it in March. For example, a lot of companies spend like 50% of their yearly marketing budget in November and December, while they spend about like 5-10% in the first few months of the year. So for this reason, I'm worried that the team may have been pushed by corporate and the financial teams, especially with the damage that was no doubt done by Shadowlands. All those long droughts that, in my opinion, resulted in a lot of people on Sunbig, so they just gotta make up for the numbers. However, it's not all big. I gotta say I'm optimistic overall. Good news is that since the release date will be in about 6 months, I'm guessing that the alpha is going to start any day now, which means that we'll finally start learning about some new, fresh content. I think most of you can agree with me here that we really just need some new and fresh content. I remember the last time I was really excited and was super into actually playing World of Warcraft were the first few months when Shadowlands was out. Since then, I've kind of just been making videos following the story, and both 9.1 and 9.2 were really just sort of nonsensical, at least from the story side, and pretty much the entire Shadowlands storyline was just something. Seeing that Battle for Azeroth wasn't exactly brilliant either, they now really need to just hit it big with Dragonflight and finally deliver on the content. We can no longer have like 9-month patch routes and just no content happening whatsoever. But the promises thus far seem pretty good. A massive continent, a brand new race and class, a reworked talent system, changes to the leveling system, and a whole bunch of smaller features. While there are no other crazy new races, looks like that leak wasn't right about the pre-ordered allied race. I'm glad we are finally getting back to Azeroth, learning about the Dragonflights, the World Soul, and just exploring a brand new continent. Thank you for watching. Check out the under customization for humans be a thing, and also check out Doronsmovies Academy for videos on real world history. See you next time.